of January 2024, you're most welcome for the Kokoliriko live show, the Thursday edition with me, Farish Majid, and this is where we are going to be discussing a lot of pertinent issues here and there with you, and remember, you can also be part of the show by sharing your feedback through the various feedback generating platforms. For instance, that is on social media. This is to those who on Facebook, who on Twitter. You can actually use our those handles for actually dropping your comments, and then we shall be able to also share with the rest of the viewers. And that is why it is very, very much important for you to also let us know of what you think of some of the topics that maybe we are discussing here and there. And remember, as the week is running, we are still having the very, very big important day, that is that the summits that are still sitting on. And remember, Uganda is also supposed to be hosting another big one, that is the IGAD summit, that is to resolve the conflict that is between Ethiopia and the neighbor, that is Somalia. So I think Somalia, so all these discussions are going to be here and there. And today we do expect the president to actually appear in public, because really we have not seen him. The NAM summits are going on, but we have not seen him, and so he has always been represented. So do we expect to see him appear at the NAM summit, at the IGAD summit, to resolve the conflict between Somalia and Ethiopia today? That is something I do not know, but we look forward to having him on set, as to, he needs also to resolve the conflicts, because he is one wise man that whom we know when it comes to resolving that is conflict between neighbors. He has really shown that he's one capable person who can actually bring in the unity. So I think we expect to see him today. We do not actually want to see him being represented. We also want to see him today. So as citizens, really, we want to know where he is and what he's doing and how he looks like. So I think we do expect him today. And remember, so many things are happening on the region here and there, and the NAM summit is still going on, as security is also threatened, as people threaten to actually demonstrate, and security did issue a warning these opposition groups that are trying to stage protests. So I think all those discussions are going to be unfolded here on the show. All you need to do is just tighten your seatbelts and wait for what is going to come next. So I think it is very, very much important, really. We do want to welcome you for the Thursday edition of the Kokoliriko live show with me, Farish Majid, and this is where we do discuss several issues here and there with you. So I think it is very, very much important for you also to share your feedback, as I said earlier on, and this is through Facebook. For those who are on Facebook, who are watching us from there, you can actually drop your comment there. For those of you who are also watching us via Twitter, you can as well drop your comments there, and not forgetting those on YouTube. The comments section as well is wide open for you to drop your comments, and also let us know where you are watching us from and what you think about this about the discussions that we hold on the show here. That definitely it will have an impact on the society. As West Nile Television, remember, our #1 mandate is to enlighten the region, and that is why we come with several issues that we need to discuss, and that is why we always started discussions right from home. The Madi cultural leaders have been equipped and tipped on, that is culture preservation, that is really through UNESCO, and UNESCO is an organization that is really helping and doing its part in terms of maintaining and really promoting culture. And the cultural leaders in Madi sub-region have been sensitized, and this is in preservation and safeguarding of documentary heritage during a national capacity building workshop. That was really one that really did attract a number of these local Madi leaders from several parts. And this is actually to aid in the preservation of culture. Remember, culture is one thing that really, if we do not really ensure that we protect it and guard it jealously, then other people's cultures will be brought on us and may not be good. So I think that is why we need to really safeguard this cultural preservation maintained. So I think what UNESCO is really doing is one commendable thing that we really appreciate and we welcome, because culture is one thing that really, if we do not ensure that we preserve it, the next generation it may disappear. And that is why we shall see people's cultures being imposed on us, and wanting other people wanting to also force their cultures on us. For instance, through the homosexuality we are talking about. These are people's cultures. They are not with us. Our African culture, our African traditional cultures really say a man is supposed to marry a woman, and it is a man supposed to actually pay dowry. And that is what our culture says. Unlike other people's cultures, which they want to really impose on us, whereby they say it is their rights, it is freedom for people to get married for the same sex, which really is uncultural when it comes to our African traditions. And that is why really we need to ensure that we promote our cultures and preserve them. So I think that is something that was really quite good there, and the capacity building workshop brought in different cultural leaders from 3 districts of Madi sub-region, namely Adjumani. We did have those coming from Moyo and Ubonge as well, so as to really enlighten them about documentary heritage and safeguarding such documents in their communities. So I think one way actually we can promote and really preserve our cultures for quite long is through putting them down in writing, because really once you put something in writing, then it is going to be very much preserved for several generations. And when I talk about writing, I do not mean only on paper. Right now we are heading into a modern era whereby you can actually put something in writing, but that is online. We have online books. So I think equipping these elders, these cultural leaders with these necessary skills is one thing that really may also have an impact in terms of preserving our cultures for long. And actually sharing this culture also through preserving it is one another thing, that because really somebody who is very far, a Madi who is very far really out of the region, very far, maybe overseas in Europe or Arab land, may be able to actually read through what has been written online. So I think the cultural preservation through writing is one thing that we really need to also take up, and this shouldn't actually be for the people of Madi alone. The people of Aluru sub-region could actually also do the same. The people of other regions, Lango sub-region, can actually do the same. Those not forgetting those in Acholi, and that would actually really have an impact in terms of protecting and promoting our cultural heritage for quite some time. So I think it is very much important for the people actually through the cultural leaders to ensure that they preserve really the cultures, because they hold the powers. The subjects very much listen to them more than any other person when it comes to issues of cultures, even more than the politicians. So I think the cultural leaders really have a great part when it comes to ensuring that they need to promote and really preserve the cultures for the next generations, because really if we do not protect the cultures right now, then we are bound to lose the cultures. We are bound to be infiltrated with other people's cultures. So I think it is very much important really to ensure that we preserve and protect the cultures, because other than that, other people's cultures are going to be forced onto us, which may also not be good, which may come with its negative impacts. And that is why we are running away from issues connected to homosexuality, and we are saying it is uncultural because it may be right for other people. We never know. It is good, it is accepted in other people's cultures, because really if you look at those cultures who are trying to impose it on us, they are not from here. So I think this thing was really also quite good, and really we need to also ensure that we echo our voices. And one person that did attend this training was, we did have Dr. Ogo Lali Mundrugo, Venture Dominic, the Assistant Secretary General for Uganda National Communications under the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization. And he said the main purpose for this meeting was to sensitize the cultural leaders on their role in the preservation and safeguarding of documentary heritage, so as to pass the information to the next subject. So that is something I also did say here. When it comes to really these cultural leaders, they hold the powers, they hold the masses, they have the powers, they have the tool to actually engage their subjects, because their subjects really believe in them more than any other person. If you have to move if you have to move into the other people's cultures really, and into some of the cultures where I've been to, more so those that are not from here, these people actually really obey their cultural leaders and respect them so much, to the extent that what the cultural leader really says is what the subjects do. And I think they have the powers, they hold the masses. So I think it is them to really ensure that they talk to their masses through writing down and maintaining these things for the next generation. So I think that is something I also feel that we need to talk about. And moving away from that to Pakwach district now, the councillors that side are threatening to lay down their tools over delayments in the payments of their emoluments. Remember, these councillors do not earn salaries, but what they do is earn ex gratia and honoria. So I think these people really, according to the constitution, they were supposed to be paid 120,000 per month, but these people have spent some time really without now getting their money. So they are really issuing a warning to the district lead authorities and the government to ensure that their monies are really paid, because really once these people are not paid, then it affects service delivery. People will start dodging council sittings, which may also really in one way or the other affect the operations of the district. So I think it is very much important for these people to ensure that they get their monies, and with that really they will be also really use this money for their other activities. Remember, school is not very far from now, and really, as we also come from the festive season and we're into January, things may really be that difficult. And if we do not continue to ensure that these people get their monies, then we shall be also able to see cases of corruption, because really these people will be able to also use other means to ensure that they dupe the masses or dupe the people that they lead, which may also not be good there. So I think the councillors really are demanding for their monies, and these are the local council 1 and 2 chairpersons in Pakwach district who have unanimously agreed to lay down their tools, and after they realized that they were not able to receive part of their allowances. So I think these allowances, once they're not paid, then these councillors will not be able to really expedite their duties to the best of their knowledge and their abilities. So I think that in one way also the other affects service delivery. So I think really it is very, very much important for the district authorities to ensure that these people really get their monies, so that they actually use the monies for their own needs. Remember, we are talking about January, and really somebody was telling me January is a month of so many days. I didn't know what this statement means, but now I'm feeling it, because really into January you really find that if you check the calendar is crawling. Really the days are very much crawling, and maybe to the parents really it also comes with the pressure, because there's no money. They see it very much running, and with a lot of issues and pressures here and there. But for those who really know how long the day is, how long the month is, you feel the pinch, because if you have to check the calendar, you really feel as if it is not running, it is crawling. And that is why we always say January has more than 60 days, and I didn't know what that statement means, but today I'm alive, I'm into live experience of it. So I think it is very, very much important really for these people to earn their money. And Christopher Kwecha, chairperson, local council 1, that is of Patwe Central, more eastward, say they have a lot of activities to do with the money, and appeal to the district leadership to work towards their demand. So I think it is very, very much important for the district leadership really to ensure that they get these monies. And in response, the Pakwach district chairperson, Omito Robert Steele, has ordered the office of the cow to expedite the process of paying the chairpersons. So I think it is really, really very much important for these people to ensure that they get their monies really very, very much quicker there. So because they need the monies, they have several needs to really use these monies for. So I think it is very, very much important for these people really to ensure that they get their monies in time. And so many things are going to be using, they are going to use these monies for so many things, and that is why it is always important for these leaders to ensure that these people that they lead also do not undermine them, because once these leaders are very poor, they become vulnerable. They will see a leader becoming really vulnerable, which may not have a good example of them. So I think paying these people's money timely is one thing that will help maybe this country move away from corruption. Because these councillors, if you look at them, these local council 1 and 2 chairpersons, they play a big role in terms of really chairing the activities of the lower local governments. So I think it is very, very much important for these people to actually ensure that they pay these people's monies such that service delivery is not affected, and issues of people holding stamps maybe demanding monies for people who come for these services. For instance, really, these people hold the stamps, and when one wants to access services such as recruitments, usually we see these people, we see the recommendations from them. So several cases, and even people who need loans, in most cases also need the recommendation letters from the LC1 and 2 chairpersons. And not only that, even if you need to process a national ID, and this is to the people who do not have the national IDs, the young generation who will want to actually process for themselves these other documents. So it really comes with a lot of pressure, and this will actually force these local council 1 and 2 chairpersons into activities that may not be good, because really once somebody is not paid, the person becomes vulnerable, and that is why they at times engage in cases of corruption, such as asking for monies for people who need their services, which is also really affecting service delivery, because once somebody does not have that money, it really pushes them away from accessing these services, and then which may also have the negative impact on the socio-economic transformation that we continue to talk about, because really we are talking about a state where government is intending to ensure that everybody is engaged into active production, and some of the people actually maybe would be engaged into production through needing services from the local council ones, because somebody wants, maybe they want to move somewhere and start a business from there, and then this person is going to be asked for a letter even if you are moving into a new area, according to the guidelines, you're supposed to move with an S1 letter to show that you are indeed from that village and you are not a bad person. And coupled with cases of really insecurity that we do have in the country today, then that really becomes very, very much difficult there to really curtail some of the issues. So I think it is very, very much important for the councillors of that side really to ensure that they get their monies, because the monies are there. I believe the district has the right to really approve so that they get their monies, and that is why these people will not actually come and really demand and really threaten also to lay down their tools. They would actually work swiftly, and if their monies were really paid in time, and that would also really greatly impact on the service delivery these people really put when it comes to sharing the activities that is for the local governments, because really these people play a great role into the governance. They are the leaders, they are the head of security, they really also do so many other things to ensure that the areas they lead are very safe, and these people actually play a great role because they are the ones on ground. They are the informers of government when it comes to issues of insecurity. So I think really the government has a great role and to ensure that these people's monies are paid, and really also maybe if these people's monies would be uplifted from 120 to maybe to a higher amount, and that would also really be a great one for them to ensure that they work smoothly. So I think for these people, for them to get their monies back, that will be something that we are looking into as we continue really with the show, and we shall be able to really keep you updated of what transpired at that side, and in case they really also get their monies, we shall let you know, because we are on ground. As in the whole of West Nile, we are on ground. We are there to ensure that we let you know of everything happening in and around your vicinities. That is why West Nile Television is here, and its #1 mandate is actually to enlighten the region. And one way we are going to enlighten the region is actually through talking of issues that happen within our vicinities. We also talk about issues that happen at the national scene, not forgetting issues up to the international level, where this is where we need to really also be part of the show. And for you, the viewer, we thank you so much. And in case really you are watching us this hour of the morning, feel free to drop your comment and let us know where you are watching us from and what you really think of. But for now, really, we are running for a short commercial break, and when we return back, we still have lots more on the updates, because we are here to really keep you updated of what is happening in and around the world. So what you need to do is just stay locked. Do not move away from your television set.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on StarTimes. StarTimes brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023, live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Welcome back. This is still a Kokoliriko live show with me, Farish Majid, that starts every Mondays to Fridays, and today is the Thursday edition, and today is also that is the 17th of January. So from wherever you are watching us from, we want to thank you so much. I mean 18th, I did say 17th, sorry about that. It is 18th of January, and remember this month really is one that doesn't run so much, so we are really also get confused in the day. So it is really one that really runs so much. Remember January, somebody was telling me it has 60 days, as I said earlier on. I did not know what that statement means, but today I'm really feeling the pinch. Really the days are not running, because really if you have to look at today, it's still 18th. I don't know when the 30th or maybe 29th will arrive, but really we shall be able to really keep you updated of what is happening, and that is why the morning updates on Kokoliriko Live that comes every Mondays, that is from Mondays to Fridays 7 to 9 a.m. and really we did discuss a lot of issues really in the first quarter of the first hour, where we did talk about the councillors really of Pakwach threatening to lay down their tools over the delayments in the payment of their emoluments. So I think that is something that we really did talk about. And we also did talk about Madi cultural leaders getting sensitized, that is on the preservation of cultural heritage, that is through writing. We also did really talk about that, because the leaders are the ones that really hold the powers. And for the Madi cultural leaders, it's a great one. We do also expect them not to really sit down with the knowledge they have got, because really sometimes people go for workshops, but when it comes to the implementation, they do not actually act. But this time around, really, we expect these leaders to actually really also come up with measures of ensuring that they really fulfill and implement what they have really been taught. Let them also share the knowledge with their subjects, because the knowledge that they got is not for themselves alone to keep, but rather to share with the rest of their subjects, so that would also have an impact on them and into the preservation of their culture. So I think I want to call upon every leader that attended to also share with the rest of the leaders, because I believe not all of them attended this conference, but the numbers that we did see attend this meeting, I do understand that some actually did not attend. So we also expect those who attended to share the knowledge with the rest that did not attend. So I think it will also have an impact. And remember, now moving away from that to one of the biggest stories that is trending on the country at the moment, that is the Non-Aligned Movement Summit that is currently sitting. And remember, today is the 18th, and this started on 15th and will run up, that is 20th. And then after 20th, we shall also have another, that is the G77 plus China Summit. And remember, over 700 delegates have really been expected, and we do understand that more than 600 have actually turned up for this event, and they continue coming one after the other. And if you look at Entebbe International Airport, it is a beehive of activities, and aeroplanes really continue coming one after the other. If you can really also see what is really happening that side, you can be able to really tell that we are having another big meeting. So these meetings are really quite good and quite important for the country, and that is why once these guests are here, the president actually through security leaders did make the people ask the people to actually show a good image of the country, but where we are seeing some people also trying to really also protest. And security has said they are not going to hold that. They are not going to accept anybody to come on the streets. What they will do is ensure that nothing happens, and with heavy deployment on most of the streets, I think this will not take place, because really if you have to look at most of the areas where these guests pass, you can't be able to really be observing of what security has deployed. You can really see so many tanks are being put in place, ambulances, and not forgetting trucks that belong to security officers. These are agencies, for instance, UPDF being really doing its part there to ensure that there's safety in terms of these people's arrival. So if you look at Entebbe also, the security is very much tightened, and coupled with so many intelligence officers, dogs moving here and there, security deployment checkings here. So I think we do not expect anything bad to really happen to these guests, because once a bad thing happens to these guests, we are not likely to also host another big event like this come in the future, because all these events really come with their advantages. So really that is why it is very, very much important for the people to really ensure that they take proper care and really ensure that we serve the guests with the best. And for those people, really, that is why some people are saying really the roads have been cleared. So many changes have been made on the road. So really, if you have to move and enter the city center, this is for the people watching us from those ends, you must be ready for any changes, because anytime something can come your way. So I think it is very, very much important. So many guidelines have been issued, and to the security guards, really, you have been cautioned against really moving with the guns into the Kampala metropolitan area. So entering with your gun that side is prohibited for the moment. You are actually asked to leave your guns, that is at the places of deployment. So if you are working in one place, you are supposed to leave your guns there. So I think the security companies also have a role to play when it comes to this observance of these laws, and that comes with the changes in deployment. So really, if you are to ensure that this guard is going to work at that place, maybe you should leave them for the rest of these days, so that they do not really also get challenges when it comes to moving with their guns here and there. So I think for these security companies, this is mostly to these guard companies. If you look at this, so many of them are in place. So I think really we do expect them also to observe these guidelines that have been issued by police and other security agencies in place. So I think that would also really also have an impact on the security of this way, because somebody can come up and disguise as a security guard and really also cause harm for us. Because really, if anything happens to these guests here, these are dignitaries from several countries. Really, you can really also see how many countries that are under 9 aligned movements. So you can really see how many guests have come in place. So I think that is something that we should not also leave out. And yesterday we did have a sitting for the women, and in an effort to address gender inequality gaps and promote women's economic empowerment in non-aligned movement countries, women activists have called for reforms in land laws and support women in land registration and ownership. So I think women have always, time immemorial, had challenges when it comes to land ownership. Even this comes back to the lowest points. If you look at how our families are settled, and if you look at the family setting, really sometimes we limit the women, and really somebody is being limited. So because of gender, so I think this is something that these people actually did really also call in there. They did have a sitting for the women. So I think during this non-aligned movement for sitting for the women actually did have a call when it comes to land reforms, and I think that is something that is also quite good there, because we do expect that this also need really to ensure that the land reforms are catered, because we are equal, but sometimes also because of religion, because of cultures, we are limited. Because when it comes to inheritance, look at inheritance. Really, inheritance when it comes to land, really, it is not fair enough. In most cases, we tend to give more priority to the boy child and to the men more than the ladies. I think that is something that we also need to desist from, because other than that, then we are bound to be really seeing so many of these calls coming in place. So I think it is very, very much important really for people to ensure also that the land reforms are being catered, because if you look at so many of the laws in so many of these countries also, as I say, most of them do not actually favor. Because if you look at all these countries, most of the countries under NAM are the developing countries, and they have a similar, in most cases, they have something in common, and that is culture. Our cultures are almost the same, irrespective of where we come from, maybe in terms of our locations, but we do have so many things that is in common. These remarks were actually made during a discussion on women's rights and empowerment at the NAM Women's Side event organized by the Ministry of Gender, Labour, Social Development in collaboration with the women's movement in Uganda. And Betty Amongi, the Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, highlighted one of the significant challenges faced by women in Uganda and other NAM countries, which is limited land ownership. Amongi emphasized that land ownership serves as a collateral for women to access bank loans and expand their businesses. So I think if people have ownership of land, then definitely they will be able to also really grow, because we are talking about women emancipation. And remember, when it comes to issues of women emancipation, we need to support them, and one way we are going to support them is actually making reforms when it comes to really these issues of land ownership. Because some of these women, really, if you have to look at them, we say land is not for them. Really, in most cases when it comes to our cultures here, we say that your land is at your husband's place. This land is ours, and this is to families, really, it has always been there. That is why you find women cannot actually really come and develop and put up structures such as buildings into their homes. But really we are seeing this actually slowly disappearing, and we really also need to ensure that this goes off, because once it continues to remain, then definitely we are bound to be seeing so many of these cases, so many of these issues here and there. Really, that will also not be good, and that is why it is very, very much important for people to really ensure that they actually have these laws amended, maybe also really improved. So I think other than that, then definitely we are going to also see so many of these cases here and there, and that is why there will be underdevelopment. So it will also not be good for people really to ensure that they actually have changes on these laws, and that is why I want to really call upon each and everybody to ensure that they cater and ensure that these land reforms are fulfilled. And in case you are just joining us right now, you're most welcome aboard. And as I said earlier on, feel free to drop your comments on the various platforms and really on what you think on some of the discussions that we are holding right now. What we're discussing right now is that the NAM sitting that did take place yesterday, where the women activists actually called for reforms that is in land, so that this can actually favor the women. And remember, once you have land, land is one asset, by the way, is one big asset that if one has, then he is rich. Because if you have land, then that is an investment. You can use the land for anything. You can actually use the land for active production. You can rent the land out. You can also use it for accessing loans, and this is why we're actually basing their arguments for. They said you can actually use as this land that you have as a collateral security, that is for accessing bank loans. And remember, if you are to access one, if you're in need of loans, in most cases when you move to these banks, they will ask you, what are you giving as a guarantee? What do you have as a collateral security? What is that property that you are attaching, so that once you fail to pay these monies, we can attach the property? And in most cases, if you have land, then it becomes very, very easy for you to actually access the loans. And remember, land is one property that also does not depreciate. If you buy land right now at 7 million, I can assure you that you cannot sell it at the 7 million that you purchased it on. Even if it is just 2 hours, definitely the price will increase, because land is an asset that really continues appreciating. It is one that doesn't depreciate. So I think for those who know economics, definitely you must be knowing what I'm talking about. So if really you have land, then definitely it puts you at a higher level. It puts you at an advantage, so that you can actually go for these necessary services that you want. And this is why the women are saying we need reforms when it comes to land ownership, because really most of our laws when it comes to land ownership do not favor them, and that is the truth. That is the absolute truth. And this is also not with the laws alone. If you are really to also have a look at the religious setting also, sometimes they tend to give more priority to the boy child than the girl child, but really land ownership should be for everybody. And even if you look at the cultures, one thing that has been put on our images, one thing that has been put behind our brains in this African tradition, is that land ownership belongs to the boys, and that the women have their lands at the husband's place. Now, what if you marry a man that does not have land? Because we do understand that some of these people actually do not have land today. You are marrying somebody who does not have land, who does not really know where he or she comes from, then definitely that also puts them at risk. And that is why we want to thank Francis Angara Tours, that is in Machon Falls, for watching us all the way from Pakwach. We thank you so much for watching us from that part of the region, and really it is a great pleasure knowing that you are watching us from there. And just like Angara, you can also let us know where you are watching us from and what you think about what we are discussing. Then definitely we shall be able to also share with the rest of the viewers. So I think moving away from that, really we do have so many things that we are still discussing. And remember, moving away from NAM Summit, today we are also expecting a special sitting, IGAD sitting, that is to be hosted by Uganda, that is to resolve the conflict that is between Somalia and their neighbor, that is Ethiopia, because really all these countries they are having a disagreement that is of the breakaway of Somaliland, which wants to break away, and that will give access to Ethiopia. And that is something that really the leaders of Ethiopia, of Somalia, did ask actually during the NAM sittings. They did call for countries that is under NAM to intervene in resolving this conflict here. So I think that is one thing that really we need to talk about, because really if you have to look at most of the African countries that we are having today, most of them are having, I don't know why they must be having conflicts here and there. Rwanda is having a conflict with, that is DRC. Kenya is having with Tanzania. And now we are seeing also Ethiopia with Somalia, and now the summits are really sitting on. I do not know what this means for the peace of the nation. And most of these countries are actually part of the East African bloc. So Somalia did send to wanting to join the East African community, and actually that is something that we are talking about. And DRC also recently joined the East African bloc. So I think these are the same countries, but I do not know what really must be causing problems among most of these countries here and affecting the East African community bloc. So I think we are looking forward to that, and we shall be able to keep you of what transpires in that IGAD summit there, because really that is some big one where we do expect the head of state, that is for President Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to actually use his wisdom there, because we know him as one person who is always there to really foster unity among these countries. Because of his wisdom, we do understand that he is actually one person that is expected to really chair this sitting, and we do not also really expect him to miss out, because we have not seen him ever since. So many people want to see him appear, but he has gone silent. We do not know where he is. Ever since he gave that State of Nation address, people are really asking themselves, where is Musei? Where is Musei? Musei is not appearing. But really, we look forward to really also seeing that there. And remember, Somalia on Tuesday urged the non-aligned movement member states to make the issue of territorial integrity a priority during the ongoing summit that is in Kampala. Speaking to the media in the capital city of Uganda, that is Kampala, the country's permanent secretary in the Ministry of that is Finance Affairs and International Cooperation, Hamza Adnan Hadu, said Somalia is just recovering from another conflict and cannot afford to really enter into another war with the neighbor. So it is not really something that we also need to really continue talking about there. And remember, Ethiopia lost its access to Red Sea ports. That's in 1991. After that, that is the Eritrean war, which was actually there. So I think all these countries have had issues of war here and there over since. That is why we need now this IGAD summit to resolve this conflict, because really once it is not addressed, then we shall be able to really also really see these things happening. And remember, Uganda is a destination of the international events through January, which will host the International Authority on Development. That is the IGAD summit. That is on January 18th, which is today. That is between Ethiopia and Somalia. So we expect the two representatives to actually really sit down and really and air out their grievances and actually draw ways to really putting that aside, because once these issues are not put aside, then we shall be able to really also see so many of these issues continue, because once these disagreements continue, then definitely they have an impact on the economy, because really so many things are going to happen and trade is going to be deteriorated, and people will be stopped from moving here and there. And remember, just some few days ago, so many things were really happening. Aeroplanes are being stopped by countries here and there. So I think that affects people's movements, that affects trade, and then definitely that will also not have an impact, a good impact on the economy. So I think that is something that we really also need to ensure that we do not leave out, because so many things continue to be talked about. As people of this nation, we cannot leave out some of them out, because really, once we leave them out, then they will be able to continue, and that will also not be really having a good impact there. So I think it is very, very much important for us to really engage ourselves and really continue following up on that issue there. So I think that is why it is very, very much important. And now, still with the NAM Summit, Uganda Post Congress wants the Non-Aligned Movement Summit to address the debt burden among member states. So according to the party, the heavy debt burden has enslaved NAM members since the Arab-Israeli War of the early 1970s, which has reduced investment opportunities and trade in the economies. Addressing journalists at the UPC party headquarters, that is in Kampala, party spokesperson Faizo Musei mentioned the need for NAM Summit to come up with the practical solutions for the debt traps, because really sometimes most of these monies that are borrowed also have devastating impacts on the economy, because the money comes with the interest, and of which sometimes the interests are very huge. So I think UPC is calling upon, that is the non-aligned movement sitting, to actually engage and really and also dialogue on the issues of debt burden, because really if you look at the debt burden of so many of these countries, it is quite huge, and Uganda is not exempted, and really our debt burden is also very, very much high. And according to the Minister of State for Finance, Henry Musasizi, the total debt burden stock of June, that is of June 2023, stood at shillings, that is 86.8 trillion, and really this is some huge amount. And Musasizi made the revelation while presenting the national budget framework paper for the financial year, that is 2024-2025. to 2028 to 2029 before the committee chaired by, that is Patrick Opolot Isiagi. So I think that money is really quite huge there. Once we do not address this, really, so many of these things are going to continue, because really, if we do not really also ensure that we draw proper means, proper access to these monies that have to be paid, because really sometimes also we borrow these monies and we do not put them in proper use, which also affects the service delivered at the same time, which also affects the nation. That is definitely something that we also really continue following up, and we shall keep you updated of what transpires in NAM. That is till the last day, as what we also come in the morning is to let you know of what transpires, and what will transpire today is also something that we shall be able to keep you in the know of what when it comes to tomorrow. So UPC asked NAM member states also to address food insecurity, climate change, poor health, unemployment, and migration and terrorism, because really these are global issues. Now, if you look at really climate change, it has become a big problem. It has really affected the nation. So I think it is collective efforts now for all the nations to reunite to ensure that they draw these issues and really draw proper means to ensure that the aspects of climate change are really resolved. Because if you look at climate change right now, even if let's lower it up to this region, if you really remember when we were there in the need during the summer, most especially when people were expecting dry season, the rains were still continuing to fall, and really this actually did not go well with some people. Some people actually did not understand what is happening, and that was really a manifestation of climate change. And right now, where we expect where we expected not to rain in some parts, we are still seeing rains. Even if you, for instance, you move to the western parts recently, where we did see that is a strike of light thunder, so which really did not also go well, where we did lose 4 innocent children in the hands of lightning as a result of this rain. So I think really we are still continuing to witness rains in some parts of this country, which is really an issue that we need to really interest ourselves, because the issues of climate change now is for us all. That is why we need to also desist from practices that may hamper and really affect the climate. So I think that is why issues of tree cutting, deforestation, and acts that may also have negative impacts on climate, we need to desist from them. So we need to move away from them, rather than we need to ensure practices that may also really help, that is in terms of climate change. We are talking about the increase in population, which has also come with its negative impacts, such as settlements, and that is why people are cutting down trees to build houses, and forests are going down for people to settle, and really that is something that is really quite very bad there, and we need to also really ensure that we talk about when it comes to climate change. And now moving on from climate change, the issue that these people also want it to see be addressed is poor health. And remember, people are still living behind the poverty line, and that comes with the aspects of poor health. And really so many diseases are being seen here and there. And remember, we also as a country, we did receive a message of suspected cholera case registered somewhere. We do not know that really. We also do not expect it to spread in the parts of the country, because recently we did have a pandemic that was in the parts of Bubende, which was not good. So I think really we call upon everybody to ensure individual responsibility when it comes to issues of health, because really once these diseases really ensure that they break out. Remember, if you really remember what happened during that is the COVID pandemic time, really, which wasn't quite good there, where we did see the economy really being affected here and there, because movement of people were really affected. And once all these things happen, then definitely it becomes very bad. And then we are talking about migration. Really, migration is something that is very big. People want to move away from where they are. Really, this is more so for people from the developing countries. Really, these poor countries, they want to really move to, that is the developed countries, to look for better opportunities. And then we are seeing some of the movements also are not quite good there, and they are quite risky, because these people spend a lot of months on the road and on the waters which they use, which is the commonest means that they use to access these countries. And then we are also seeing them being arrested sometimes also them getting accidents and capsizing on the boats, really, where we have over time witnessed a number of lives lost, which is really quite very bad. We really expect these leaders to actually address this. And terrorism is also not another that we cannot leave out. Remember, recently we did have threats of terrorism here and there in this country, which wasn't also really quite good there, where we did have suspected bomb attacks and threats being placed in places of people's gatherings, such as churches and happening places which also did really threaten our security as a country. And that with that really we are going to be running for another short commercial break, and when we return back we shall be able to really continue with the show. And this is still the Kokoliriko live show that comes your ways every Mondays to Fridays, and my name is Farish Majid, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and we are still continuing with you. And thank you so much in case you're just joining us right now. It's a great pleasure having you on board, and we are here as West Nile Television to enlighten the region. But for now, let's first run in for a short commercial break.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on StarTimes. StarTimes brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back. It's 8 a.m. which is our second hour of the show, and we are still continuing with the Kokoliriko live show up the hour. That's 9 a.m. and that is when we shall be able to also pave way for the Lubarati News team to come through and let you know of what is happening in the world of Eolas, and that is why you must be very, very much important and watch this show, because they will be able to also let you know of what is happening in and around your vicinity. So it is very, very much important to get updated, and that one way for the people who actually understand the language, and for those who come from West Nile, that is why you must not miss the Eolas news bulletin, because it is where you will get to know of what is happening in the language that you best understand. And in the first hour, really, we did discuss a lot of issues here and there, starting off from the threats by the councillors. That these are the LC1s and LC2 chairpersons of Pakwach district, threatening to lay down their tools over the delayments in the payments of their emoluments by the district. So I think that is something that we really also did talk about here and there. We also did talk about the Madi cultural leaders getting training, because these leaders from the 3 districts actually got knowledge, and then we also expect them now to share the knowledge that they received in this training that was organized by UNESCO to the rest of the leaders that did not attend, and to also act upon, because really we do not expect people to actually come up and really get the knowledges that they are being taught, to keep it to themselves. Let them act upon, let them use the knowledge that they have gotten, because really most times also where we see people getting these knowledges and them not putting them into proper use, then it really beats our understanding, because you are having the knowledge. And that knowledge you have could actually be that one that may change your life and the rest of the people around you. Because really, if you look at tourism, then let me assure you, it is one of these activities that is bringing in a lot of monies for this country, because we are blessed as the pearl of Uganda. We are blessed. We have so many potential tourism sites. Even if you look at West Nile, we do have so many potential tourism sites that have never been mapped, and from which we are not really earning a lot of monies. But now, through the preservation of the cultural heritage, then this could actually be the one that could open the doors for us to also start earning monies that is from tourism. So I think it is very, very much important for the leaders that side to now start ensuring that they actually put the knowledge that they got into proper use. So I think that is also another thing that we did discuss. We did also talk about the Non-Aligned Movement Women's Conference that was organized by Ministry of Labor and Development. So I think that is also something that we cannot leave out. We did talk about women calling for land reforms, because land really is one asset that everybody needs to have. Because really, if you have land, you are rich. That is one thing I need to assure you. Once you have land, you are a rich person. You cannot be compared to whoever does not have land. But in most cases, once the people have lands, and then the land laws sometimes also limit us, the cultures, and so many other issues really, and other aspects really have been limiting women. That is when it comes to access to these land laws, and that is something that we did discuss really. And really, we are still continuing with the discussions. We also did talk about the IGAD summit to resolve that is the Ethiopia-Somalia row. We also did talk about that really, where we expect leaders, that is Uganda, to actually mediate, and Uganda is really one country that we expect to really resolve this dispute, and once it is not resolved, then it will also really result into negative impacts, where we shall also see wars happening, that is between Somalia and Ethiopia, which may not be good, because Ethiopia also recently, if you remember, they were hit, and Somalia is a country that has suffered really over time when it comes to really issues of insecurity. So I think we expect the two countries to really come on board to really address the issues and put the grievances aside, and with that really, that will also really impact on the service delivery when it comes to those countries, and then that will also improve on development. So I think as countries, more so those in development states, that would actually really also greatly impact on them, because really one issue that has actually been dragging, that is countries in the developing world behind, is the aspect of peace and stability. So I think that is something also we really look forward, and we shall be able to really keep you transpired come tomorrow. And remember, the Non-Aligned Movement is still continuing. South Sudan, Somalia, Djibouti leaders, yesterday we did see them. We actually did see, that is the president of South Sudan actually in attendance, really coming from Entebbe Airport, which was really something that we really also did see, which was nice. So I think hosting these events, these international events, is a commendable thing. So I think it must make each and everybody proud. We must be proud as citizens of this country that we are hosting this big event. So I think really, once we do not really ensure that we host this thing properly, so it may also limit us, and that is why we need to also really ensure that we talk about these things here. Now, before we went in for the break, we did discuss UPC really calling for the countries under NAM to really discuss issues when it comes to that is debt burden, and really we did discuss a lot about that. But still we want to add more on the discussion really as we continue with the discussion. Remember, we are going to be stretching like this up the hour, that's 9 a.m. and that is where you will be able to also really get to know of what is happening around your world. So I think UPC asked NAM member states to also address these challenges that I did mention to you. The party called for massive investments in innovation and technology that can boost large-scale production, as well as heavy reliance on local raw materials. Remember, one thing that African countries lag behind for is the aspect of that is value addition, and really that is something that has been dragging most of the countries back, because if you look at them, they are actually blessed with the raw materials, but the aspects of the technology is something that has been lacking, and innovation is also one that has really been affecting these countries. So I think if these countries improve on that is technology and innovation, then definitely that will have an impact really also in the development of these countries. Look at these countries. The price of coffee really from these countries is purchased very, very cheaply, but when a finished product, when it comes in terms of imports, really it becomes very, very much expensive. If you are really to compare the exports and the imports, the prices are not the same. Really, if you look at the export of the raw materials vis-a-vis the import of the finished products, you really tell that there is no fairness in terms of prices. And really, if we ensure the value addition, maybe if we really ensure that we export these products as finished products, then definitely that would have an impact on the trade, that would have an impact on the development, that would have an impact on foreign exchange. With that, really, that would actually also drastically impact on the development of these countries, and then that would also really greatly improve on our GDP. So I think as we continue talking about GDP, then this would actually be one thing that if the country is ensured, and that is why UPC actually did also call upon this way. And UPC actually also did call these NAM countries to invest in Uganda, and on Tuesday, really, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni rallied investors to invest in Uganda, saying it's a resource-rich country and it's the best investment destination. And that is something also really, these people also did call upon the country to really ensure that they come and invest in. And the president made this remarks at Serena Hotel in Kampala in his speech read by Vice President Jessica Alupo during official opening of the East African Trade Investment Forum that is running currently with the 19th Summit in NAM. So I think so many things are really going on, and our dignitaries must be very busy. And one thing I must say is they should be very busy for the right purpose. And we also need, as citizens, we need to really also have an impact of these developments, maybe in terms of policies, maybe in terms of infrastructure development, maybe also in terms of the laws. So we do expect these activities, these international events that are transpiring here and there, to also really come with an impact on us as the citizens, and also ensuring that these help. Because if we do not really also ensure that these events just come like that and leave, then definitely that will be a disservice to the people of this country. So I think that is something that we really also need to ensure that we benefit from. And with that, we are now putting the discussions that is in relation to NAM aside, as we still have lots more to give you when it comes to the updates, because really we are here to do that. And really, Uganda Muslim Spring Council, the wars are still continuing. We do not know what is happening, as the days really are very closer for Mubaje to move out of office. That is by the age limit. But is the constitution going to be amended? That is something that we are still going to be looking into, because really, as per the constitution, once you clock 70 years, then you cease to be a mufti. So really, he's very close to that. He's remaining with very few days. That is something that we are still going to really also keep you updated of. And remember, so many of these things are still continuing, and that is why we must also let you know of what is happening. The embattled mufti of Uganda, Sheikh Ramadan Mubaje, has a year and 30 days left in the office as per the Uganda Muslim Spring Council. Means that he is remaining with 365 days, that is a year, plus another 30 days, that is to leave office as the Mufti of Uganda. And what does that mean really? That is something that we do not know, because he is now 69 years, and he ascended to the office of the Mufti. That was on December 11th, that was in 2000, through an election conducted at Hotel African in Kampala. The old Uganda Muslim Spring Council states, the constitution states that a Mufti should leave office once he clocks 70 years. That is something that really we must continue following. We are saying that the constitution also stops him from continuing into office at 70 years. But once we see sometimes also people amending the constitution here and there, are we expecting the same when it comes to the same issue? That is something that I do not know, but I'll be able to really also keep on following till the last day and see to it that we keep you updated. So I think, however, the new constitution ratified that Uganda Muslim Spring Council General Assembly on July 13, 2022, put the age at 75. So this constitution is being amended here and there. So really, but sometimes age limit. Why isn't it being followed? And why is that? Sometimes also the leaders want to really amend the constitution to their ability to aid them. So I think that is something really we need to really also talk about. And according to Article 5 of the Clause 5C of the new Uganda Muslim Spring Council, it says that in order to be considered for the office of the Mufti, the first deputy Mufti or the second deputy Mufti, a person shall have to be a holder of at least a master's degree in Sharia or its equivalent from a recognized university. So I think that is something that really also I need to let you know of. So I think Mufti term, the framers as of the new constitution, that is Uganda Muslim Supreme Council constitution had proposed that the Mufti should serve one term of 10 years, but delegates backed Mubaje's proposal to allow the Mufti to serve one renewable term of 10 years, implying that office bearer can enjoy more 10 years if he serves well. So I think that is something that really we also need to also keep you in the know of, and we shall still continuing, and we shall also be giving you more when it comes to that line there. So I think it is really something that we also need to really keep you in the know of. Other than that, really also it is something that we are still going to be seeing, and that is something also we cannot leave out. And now that is why you must always really be in the know. So I think also moving away from that, we are seeing new appointments, that is in judiciary. The two Court of Appeal judges, that is Catherine Bamgemerere and Monica Mugenyi, have been appointed to the Supreme Court of Uganda as the judiciary seeks to enhance dispensation of justice in the country. So I think that is quite good there, because really we are talking about the judiciary, which is very much having a number of issues, which is having a staffing gap that has never been filled. So all over time, these people have really been continuing to really ask government to increase their numbers, and that is one thing that has actually been contributing to the backlog. And if you have to really look at the judiciary, it is one that has been so much affected by cases of high numbers of, that is the case backlogs here and there in the courts, because the numbers of the judicial officers are very few. So I think in the new appointments announced, that was on Wednesday evening by the Judicial Service Commission, Stella Atingu and John Paul Edoku, where we are also named as acting registrars, while Sylvia Nabagala was named as registrar of the industrial. So I think the new appointments announced Wednesday, that is the things we are really also letting you know. So I think this comes months after Parliament in November 2023 passed the Judicature Amendment Bill, that was 2023, rejecting a proposal to increase the number of Supreme Court judges from 11 to 21. The House, however, endorsed the increment of the number of court appeal judges by 20. Government on November 2022 tabled the Judicature Amendment Bill 2023 on November 2022, and Speaker Anita Mong, chairing the House, then called for expeditious handling of the bill, saying it would help government effectively and efficiently deal, that is, with the case backlog in the Supreme Court. So I think all these courts, really, if you have to look at so many of these courts, right from the magistrate courts, they are still facing issues, that is when it comes to backlog, and backlog has always been their challenge. And this also really affects the judicial process, because really once they say when there's a delay, that is justice denied. Once there's a delay, that's what the law says. And that is why really also sometimes we need to also ensure that we really support these developments when it comes to the numbers, maybe in the increment of judicial numbers, in rejecting a proposal to increase number of Supreme Courts. Really, that is something really we should also really desist from. And the recommendations, the Chief Justice will be given powers to appoint justices on acting capacity than the ones who are really on permanent. So I think all those developments are really there, and that is something that we really also need to really keep you in the know of. And remember, all these judges who have been really appointed are now really awaiting, that is Parliament to really vet them, because once these names are proposed, they have to go to Parliament really for vetting, because Parliament then has to really see who exactly is this one here, what has he been doing, is he or she really qualified. That is really something also really we shall be able to really follow up on, and once these people are vetted, and when we shall also let you know of what exactly happened. So I think that is something also really we cannot leave out of. So I think really that is something also really we shall continue to talk about. And still on the papers, police have vowed to block demonstrations planned for Thursday. That was today by opposition figures saying marches by residents. On Tuesday, joint opposition forces led by Robert Chagulanyi and Dr. Kiza Besigye for peaceful protest. That is due to anger over poor roads, that is in the capital. So I think police yesterday said that they are not going to really actually take this. They are not going to allow anybody come on the streets to ensure that they disrupt these guests. You know, we have guests right now, and then once we see demonstration, then definitely that may not be good. So I think that is something also really what the police is saying. And on Tuesday, this happened. That was yesterday, and today this protest is actually supposed to be taking place. We do not know how they will be able to really continue going on, but we shall also let you know of what is happening. But on Wednesday, the police spokesperson Fred Nanga said the politicians have never led a peaceful demonstration, faulting them for failing to liaise with the law enforcers to ensure the smooth conduct of their public meetings and processions. So this is what police is saying. They are not going to allow this, because these people have never had any peaceful demonstration, And this is where we have seen maybe why police is basing their arguments is when it comes to the lootings, because really sometimes also once we see these things there, we see cases of people going for looting and looting of people's property, vandalizing, and really also use of abusive language, because sometimes when these people go into these protests, they are very, very much charged, most especially the youths. They are very, very much charged in the possession of these drugs. Sometimes they use these drugs and somebody is not him or herself, because really the utterance sometimes that comes out of these people sometimes is very, very much alarming. So I think that is why police is also saying they are not going to allow the protests to continue on. And maybe also, remember, we are having guests, and then once we are having this protest, then it will paint a very, very bad image of the country. So I think that is something also I feel that we need to also be in the know of, because so many things are really also happening here and there. So I think it is very, very much important for us to really continue also knowing of what is happening in and around the world. And that is why we are here each and every Mondays and to Fridays to let you know of what is happening in the world of Kokoliriko. So the Kokoliriko live show is actually there for you to know what is happening and in and around your worlds. And remember now, the M23 rebels say 2 commanders killed in fighting, and this is the information we are getting from the AFP. The M23 rebel group said on Wednesday the 2 of its commanders had been killed in fighting with the army troops that is in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The 2 men died in a drone strike by Congolese army on Tuesday in the town of Kitsanga, that is North Kivu Province's Masisi territory, according to security sources speaking on condition of anonymity. So I think after years of dormancy, the M23, that is March 2023 movement rebels, took up against arms into late 2021 and have seized vast swaths in the provinces. So I think we are still talking about insecurity with our neighbors. Remember, these issues really are things that we cannot live out, because really what happens in the neighbor is something that also happens to you. And that is why yesterday, for the people who love soccer, when Tanzania was losing, they were crying with Tanzania because they are our neighbors, really. When Tanzania did lose to that is to Morocco, one of the giants that's returning from the World Cup. Really, we did also really mourn with them because they are our neighbors. We are East African community. So I think one thing that happens to a neighbor should be your pain. So I think with that is why when the president was actually addressing the head of state earlier some weeks ago, he actually said one reason that these ADF rebels that have been destabilizing, that is the parts of western Uganda, have been attributed. He actually attributed this to a failure to work with some of the governments. So I think that is something also really we need to ensure that we engage in, and we also expect the other states to ensure that they help these countries that are facing security charges here and there. And now the M23 rebels, which are based in DRC, remember DRC has these ADF M23 rebels also destabilizing that country. They are based in the forest. So I think they also face challenges of that is the ADF. So I think really this is something that we really also need to come up and really also echo our voices on, and we need to support them as these M23 rebels continue destabilizing that state there. So I think that is something also that is trending on the papers here, and then we shall be able to also keep you updated of what is happening. And remember, so many things have been said here and there. And then recently, when we did lose, that is the Masindi DHO, who was already laid to rest, that is in his ancestral home in Maracha. The wife and 2 others have been remanded over his murder. So I think what the people are saying, the 3 people facing murder charges in connection with the murder of the DHO appeared in court on Tuesday, and we are remanded to Hoima government prison until that is January 30th. The remanded include the deceased's wife, that is 31-year-old Betty Cherotich from Masindi district, 36-year-old Buko district resident, that is Joshua Nyamureng, and his counterpart, that is Martin Chisang. The trio brought before the Chief Magistrate Court, and the trio were brought before the Chief Magistrate Court and Masindi High Court on Tuesday, but remanded to a prison more than 50 kilometers away in the neighboring Hoima city. So I think we are still following up on that issue, and we shall be able to also let you know of what is happening. And really there's something that's circulating on social media, which is also really quite not good there, on why this woman actually did say he murdered the man, which was really something that I do not believe somebody can actually come out and say. But really, I will not let you know of what he said, but that is something that really is quite embarrassing. And if that is the reason really for you to murder somebody, then that is something that is very much uncalled for. It is very inhuman. You are not a human being. That is why we also need to really sometimes act and watch our acts, because now you kill the person, you are going to jail now. We never know when you are returning. And really, you remember now you have killed somebody, you could actually walk away. If once you feel you are tired of somebody, why must you really kill them? feel free just to walk away. That is the only way to go, really. Walk away, leave them. And once you leave them, then definitely they will also really ensure that they actually move and get other people, because the person you are really killing has been a breadwinner for so many people, so many dependents, family members, relatives, even the community, because where the DHO was working is not where he comes from, but really you could really see how many people mourned him and how many people came for his burial. That is why we really say, once you're entrusted with these offices, really we need to ensure that we work to the best of the people, because we are there to serve them. And that is why once we die like this, people still continue to miss us, people continue to love and really also think of what we did. And that is something also really we feel that we need to not to leave out, because once such cases continue, then definitely they will be able to really affect the development of this this state. And now, really, we're also really moving away from that. And another story here, another big one: Museveni pardons jailed ex-NSF boss Jamwa. 12 others. That is something we are seeing here. The former managing director of the National Social Security Fund, that is David Chandi Jamwa, and 12 others will be freed from prison on Thursday after receiving a presidential pardon. And this is according to information we are receiving from authorities. And now we do not know what that means, really. That is something also, really. Somebody was arrested. Has he been presumed, has he been freed because he is innocent? That is something that we do not know, but really we can't be able to really also say that. But according to the president, according to the information we are receiving from authorities, the president has now issued, and these people will actually be freed today. And Jama was in early 2011 handed a 12-year sentence for causing a shillings 3 billion financial loss to government, specifically at the fund, after he prematurely sold treasury bonds to the defunct Crane Bank. So I think that is something that we really also do not know, but really maybe he is actually freeing him because of his wisdom, but we do not know maybe of what you think and why these people who were arrested of corruption charges continue to be pardoned. What does that what does that imply to the fight against corruption that we are continuing to talk about? We continue to think of, really we continue, as the citizens really also continue to swing and complain of poverty here and there, and saying that we have been dragged down because of corruption. And then maybe once you start seeing people maybe who were arrested for negligence really being freed like that, then definitely that also may raise questions. So I think that is something also we are still following up. The list of 11 pardon attainers dominated by 11 prisoners jailed for defilement, and there's one also, one Jackson Owino, who was convicted for manslaughter and pardoned others. So I think so many of these have been freed, and the pardoned prisoners, really the names also here, as you can see, I can also read for you some. We have David Chandi Jamwa for causing financial loss. He was sentenced to 12 years. We have Vincent Tali, who was arrested for defilement, and he was sentenced for 4.5 years. We have Nelson Drabo, who was arrested for defilement, and he was sentenced for 20 years. We have Jenson Omirambe, who was arrested for 6 years, and that was for defilement. And Samuel Aliama, 3 years sentence, was for defilement. We also have Francis Leku, who was again serving a 3 years jail term, that is for defilement, and Joseph Kabila, who was also serving a 3-year jail term, that was for defilement. We also do have Yoha Ayihtia Samuel alias Samu, who was serving a 4-year term, that was for defilement. Fred Kato, this is not Kajubi, who was also serving 7 years, that's for defilement. We have Zakaria Okelo, 5 years for defilement. We have John Nono, who was serving a 5-year jail term, that is for defilement still. We do have Jackson Owino, who was serving a 6-year jail term, that was for manslaughter. And lastly, John Misach Ouma, who was serving a 7-year jail term, that is for defilement. And remember, defilement dominates most of these people who have been freed. They're actually serving most of the cases we are really in relation to defilement. And really, if you look at defilement, really sometimes it is very, very much high. Why? Because really sometimes also our acts as parents, really, one thing I cannot leave out on the issue of defilement is that sometimes it is because of our negligence. Remember, there's a video circulating yesterday that was trending on social media, really, where we did see a teacher. This is a teacher, really a secondary school teacher, heading into the home of his student, and he was arrested from there. And we do not know really what he went to do, and he was actually arrested with 1,000 Ugandan shillings and something I will not mention to you here, and a box of that. Really, he had gone for what mission I do not know, but when he was arrested, this has drawn mixed reactions now. This has drawn so many people's comments, and really these are defilement cases. These are where people really, sometimes once we expect you to act exemplary, now you as a teacher, we presume you to be a parent of these children here, and you are the one spoiling the girl child, and then definitely that becomes very, very wrong of you. So I think this teacher was arrested and he was prevented. Now we expect him to be, that is presented before court, and this was actually through a leaked message of between the teacher and the girl. So I think the parents were quite sensitive enough. They were able to really attack the teacher that is at the home of these girls here. So I think we expect this to be brought before court, and now people are actually raising really questions here and there, and they were saying yes, the man went there but he had not done the mission. That means that the question when we're asking ourselves is, does that mean that the sentences that will be put on him are going to be lessened? That is something I do not know, as we wait court to really also come up with the measures against such issues there, here and there. So I think that is something that did happen yesterday, that was trending very much yesterday, and this was on social media. So, and for those of you who were there, so you must have seen what really happened there. So I think it is very, very wrong for teachers. For any other civil servant, remember we are talking about teachers, we also have lecturers who have been taking advantage of the girls for marks. So I think sex for marks has always been there. We have had testimonies from so many people who have actually been asked for these things. So I think that is something that we need to desist from. Other than that, we may go to prison, because 18 years is the age for girls. Really, our laws say it is 18 years for one person to be taken as an adult. So other than that, when somebody is below 18 years, even if the person is 17 years and 9 months, the person is still young, and you can still be arrested for defilement. So that is something that we need to desist from, we need to move away from, because if we do not really continue to move with those things, then that will be also something that may have a negative impact on us, because once you're arrested, you're going to leave so many things behind. Now look at the teacher who was arrested. Really, as a teacher, what are you going to tell the learners? Which school are you going to teach in? Because really your reputation has been ruined now. How are you going to face the learners? Really, that is something that is definitely that we need to really desist from, because you as a teacher, you as a person that holds office, you need to be exemplary, because once such issues arise now, you can just look at the reputation now the teacher is holding. Is it the first incident? That means that maybe he has been doing this to several of the learners, and really, and what kind of motive is this having? That is something that we do not know, because maybe it was his 40th day, and maybe he has been doing this to so many other people's innocent girls. So I think we expect court to take its course. We also expect justice, and that is when we are also going to really also keep on following. We shall be able to really keep you on this story, updated on this story. That is why you must always watch West Nile TV, because we are here to keep you updated of what is happening in and around the various outlets. So I think the prerogative of mercy is provided for in the Ugandan law under Article 121, subsection 4, of that is that of the 1995 Constitution. So I think the President's actions come at a time because the law really provides for him to do so. When he feels that he needs to act mercy, maybe these wild cash cases can be lessened. Maybe they can actually be put to a lesser sentence, maybe of doing other things. That is where the court is very, very much important. So I think we really also really expect so many people to move away from such instances. We expect to move away from corruption. We expect to move away from negligence of office. That is where we expect, once you are entrusted with the offices, you need to ensure that you perform your duties to the best of your abilities. So I think we also need to encourage people to move away from defilement, because really once somebody is 17 years, even if the person is 17 and 6 months, that is still defilement. That is why we need to move away from them. That is why we need to really also ensure that we protect our girls. Also parents, let's ensure that we talk to our girls, because really also need to the message that this person was sending is actually money, it involves money, because the person was saying we cannot actually go to a lodge because really you need the money. And as parents, what does that mean? That means that we need to really also engage our girls and talk to them and tell them money is not everything. The little I'm giving you, use it properly. And also we need to also ensure that we support the girl child with the necessary requirements that they need, so that they cannot be able to also be dependent on monies that they will be able to get in form of exchange for sex. So I think that is something that we really also need to ensure that we help the girl child out of. So with that, really, we are going to be running for a short commercial break, and this is still the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV that started from the right from the hour of 7, and we shall be able to really continue up the hour. That's 9 a.m. For now, it's a short commercial break.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on Star Times. Star Times brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your Star Times subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. Star Times, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
This is time for working hard and producing and able to help somebody who is in need. Able to give to your loved ones. This is time for giving, for God so loved us and gave his only begotten Son. Do not go taking, give, and then you will receive. If you are planning to rob somebody, listen to me carefully, God is not happy with that. If you are planning to steal people's things, God is not happy with that. Destroy everything that makes you an enemy of your neighbor. It's only God who can destroy those tendencies in your life and that habit in your life, so that instead of taking, you are a giver, because we need to demonstrate love in our time. Again, this is not time for sexual immorality, but this is time for us to prepare ourselves to receive the blessing of God. Many of us are going to waste our bodies in going into people's homes and going with people's wives and going with people's daughters, and we are going to waste our lives out there. Listen, this is time for you to open your heart, open your hands, and receive the blessing of God. I speak to people who are listening to me. If you are listening to me and you are in West Nile, my region, will you make your body the temple of the Holy Spirit and guard it? Allow your body to be used to bless our region. Do not destroy somebody's relationship by misusing his wife or his daughter. Allow yourself to be a channel of blessing, because God brings you his life in order to bless other people. Again, this is not time for dancing the whole night. Some people are going to go into dancing spree, in discos and everything the whole night. In my place where I am seated, the devil has only given and deprived people who are wizards to dance at night. Why do they dance at night? Because they dance naked, which they can't do during the day. Why are you deprived of sleep? When you should eat and drink and praise God and go to bed and sleep, then go and worship God tomorrow without a hangover. Dancing at night, going to spend time out there with other women, with other girls, with other men, is not going to give you any benefit of celebrating such a day as this. And this is a time for praises. This is a time for worship of God. because God has given us a gift that we cannot afford.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial break. This is the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV. We started from the hour of 7 and we are still continuing with you up the hour of that's 9 a.m. And in case you're just joining us right now, you are most welcome aboard, and it's a great pleasure having you on board to watch and also get you to let you know of what is happening in and around the world. So with that, really, we did discuss a lot of issues ranging from that is the region up the national scene, and we are still continuing with you. And of course, it is why you must always really watch West Nile Television every mornings from Mondays to Fridays, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And this is where we also let you know of what is happening in and around the world. Sometimes we do bring guests to analyze and really also have a chat on on some of the trending issues. That is why we also really here in place, and we are here to enlighten the region. So I think the issues that we are to talk about here are the ones that really affect this nation. So we are still continuing with the discussion. We did discuss a lot of issues here. We did have touch on the NAM summit that is going on today. We also did talk about the IGAD summit briefly that is going on. We also did talk about so many other issues ranging from the region up the national scene, where we did have a look at Pakoch LC1 and LC2 councillors threatening to lay down their tools over the delayments, the payments of their monies. So I think that is something that we did talk about. We also did talk about the appointments that is in the judiciary, the people being elevated. So I think we are still continuing with the discussions here and there as we continue running out of time. So I think time is not our best ally, and moving out of that, there's Karamoja scandal is still not done. The iron sheet scandal that was in Karamoja is still not yet over, as Minister Kitutu charged afresh over Karamoja woos. So I think all these things are still continuing. So we do not know when this issue will be put to last, but really the issues continue coming up each and every day. So I think really we are still continuing up, following up on that story. Karamoja Affairs Minister, that is Mary Goreti Chitutu, has been charged afresh, but his time in connection with the alleged causing of financial loss of over shillings 1.5 billion loss to the government, and the minister is jointly charged with Mr. Geoffrey Seremba, the Secretary Accounting Officer, Mr. Musagazi Deogratius, the head of department, that is Pacification and Development Program, and Ms. Tracy Atuhaire, the acting head of accounts, from office of the Prime Minister. So I think these were donations that were supposed to go to people of Karamoja in terms of iron sheets to also have an impact that is into transforming their lives. But unfortunately we did have also people misusing this property. So I think that was something that was very, very bad, and Ms. Kitutu has been added onto the already existing charge sheet, which was amended by the Inspectorate of Government against 7 OPM officials, dropping 5 of them and maintaining 2, that is Seremba and Musagazi. So I think that is something also we are still following up on, and the amended charge sheet has now introduced Minister Chitutu and other head of accounting officers, that is at OPM, Ms. Atuhaire. So at the accounts, the anti-corruption court in Kampala has since issued a criminal summons to the minister, that is Ms. Atuhaire, to appear on February 29th and take a plea. So related to Mr. Seremba and Mr. Musagazi, who were present in court, pleaded not guilty to the charges of corruption, and they are facing. So, and the charge of causing financial loss, the Ombudsman contends that Minister Chitutu between February and June 2022, while performing her duties as Minister for Karamoja Affairs, failed to conduct various peace-building activities in Karamoja sub-region, knowing or having reason to believe that her omission would cause financial loss, and indeed caused financial loss of over 1.5 billion to the government. So under count 2 of corruption, the IGG averse that Mr. Seremba and Mr. Musagazi between February and June 2022 while at the office of the Prime Minister in Kampala in the performance of their duties as accounting officer and head of Department Diversification Development Program respectively for the purpose of illicitly obtaining benefits for themselves, and Minister Chitutu omitted to exercise due diligence care when authorizing a total cash payment of shillings, that is 2.2 billion, that is to various staffs within the office of the Prime Minister. So I think that is why we are saying once you are entrusted with these offices, you must ensure that you perform to the best of your abilities and with due diligence. So I think once we do not really ensure that, then such charges really that are shaming may be also really followed you. So we are really talking about iron sheets really. How much is an iron sheet for a minister or maybe for an accounting officer who is holding these offices here? So I think that is something that we need to desist from as people who are entrusted with these offices. Because at the end of the day, your actions will come back to you. They will be able to really affect you as an individual. They will be able to also affect you as a person and your reputation at the same time, because really the legacy that we are talking about sometimes also which we need to mind of, because once we are entrusted with these offices, let's mind of the legacy that we shall be able to leave behind once we leave these offices. So I think that is something that also the other people who have not become victims need to desist from, because really corruption is one factor that has been dragging us down when it comes to issues of development. So I think development has been very much hampered by issues of corruption, and such people actually need to be brought to book. And then we expect the court actually to take its proper investigation and analyze this matter and bring the people to book, because really once people are really playing with people's monies like that and people's benefits, because these are we are to support the vulnerable. If you look at Karamoja, this is one of the regions that is very, very poor, and the people are actually swinging in poverty. So I think that is something also really I must inform you, and we need to also really ensure that we keep on following up on, and we shall still continue following up on that discussion and let you know of what is happening. And in case of any new developments, we shall also really also keep you know of what is happening. And then moving away from that, 5 COVID-19 patients have been admitted. That is in Kabale Hospital. That is another story that is also here on the national scene. Authorities in southwestern Uganda, that is southwestern Uganda's district, that's Kabale, have confirmed the admission of at least 5 patients with COVID-19, appealing for public action to avoid spread of the pandemic. Really, if you really know what COVID-19 was, more so when we had the lockdown, then this is time also for those who are moving from there to actually ensure that they are safe, and so that the disease does not spread again. Remember, so many people are vaccinated against this thing here, and recently we also did complain of so many vaccine dosages getting expired, and this is because some people did not actually go for their doses, and others actually went for these vaccines just once, and this is actually maybe due to a stereotype that was spread against this disease here, against this virus. I mean, as so many people are saying that it makes them have other feelings, it makes them really so many bad things were said about this vaccine. So I think some people opted to really also not engage in vaccinating themselves against this disease here. So that is something also we are following up on, and we also need to really ensure that we actually protect ourselves from this disease, such that this disease is not spread. And this is Kabale. Kabale is not very far, because this disease, if you look at it, started from Wuhan, that is in China, and some of us were looking at it in TV, as some of you are looking at me right now, not knowing that this disease would actually really come up to Uganda here, because really people move here and there. So I think I want to encourage everybody to ensure individual responsibility, and in terms of ensuring that the disease does not spread from one place to another, and ensuring that this disease is protected. And that is why we must ensure individual responsibility so that this disease will be protected. And with that, really today we want to come to a close of today's discussion as we pave way for the Eolas and News team, that is by Mukulia, Lawrence and the team, to also let you know of what is happening in the world of Eolas, that is Liberty News Bulletin. And this is for those who understand the language. You should actually wait for what is coming next, and that is the Eolas and News Bulletin. This is where you're actually going to know of what is happening in the language that you best understand. Really, with that, we want to come to a closer of today's discussion, and in a special way, I want to thank whoever watched us right from the time we began, and from wherever you watched us from, and that is in West Nile here, Acholi, Lango, Teso sub-region, not forgetting Buganda, not forgetting Ankole, and the other parts of the region and the country at large. So I must also thank you so much for watching us. And for those of you who watch us from overseas, and we do understand that we do have colleagues who watch us as far as that is the Middle East and Europe at large. So we want to also thank you so much for always watching the program, because it is there to keep you updated of what is happening happening, starting right from the region up the national scene. And really today I want to thank you who kept it from the time we began up this hour. And my name is Farish Majid. Up next is the Eolaza News Bulletin.